There's a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when you realize you're waiting for a reply, waiting for an initiative, waiting for clarity, waiting for effort that never quite comes on its own. Nothing bad has happened. No argument, no rejection, no clear line crossed. And yet, something inside you knows you care more. You show up more. You hold more space. And the hardest part isn't that they don't care. It's realizing they care, just not in the same way you do. I'm Clay Johnson, and welcome back to the podcast. Today I want to talk about something many of us experience at some point, but rarely say it out loud. That moment when someone matters deeply to you, and slowly, quietly, you begin to realize you don't occupy the same space in their life. This isn't about blame, and it's not about rejection, and it's definitely not about keeping score. It's an emotional imbalance, and what it costs us when we pretend not to notice it. Most of the time, this dynamic doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't arrive with a clear ending or a dramatic conversation. It shows up subtly. You're the one who reaches out. You're the one who adapts. You're the one who understands, waits, adjusts, rationalizes. You tell yourself, they're busy. This is just how they are. They care. They just show up differently. And maybe all of that is true. But there's still a quiet ache that comes from realizing you're holding someone with two hands while they're holding you with one, if at all. I want to be really clear here. This isn't about entitlement. No one owes us affection, time, or emotional availability. This also isn't about villainizing the other person. Most of the time, they're not doing anything wrong. The imbalance isn't malicious. It's not intentional, but it is real. And pretending it doesn't exist doesn't make it hurt less. It just teaches us to tolerate discomfort we don't need to normalize. Here's how this often looks like in real life. You hesitate before reaching out, not because you don't want to, but because you don't want to seem like too much. You feel relief when they respond and tension when they don't. You replay interactions, wondering if you imagined the closeness. You lower your expectations instead of questioning the dynamic. You tell yourself you're being patient, when really, you're slowly abandoning your own needs. And that's the part we don't talk about enough. The most painful realization usually isn't, they don't care. It's this, they care, just not with the same depth, consistency, or priority that you do. And that truth can be harder than rejection because it keeps hope alive. Hope is powerful, but it's also dangerous when it asks you to keep shrinking. Over time, this imbalance starts to erode something important, your trust in yourself. You start negotiating with your intuition. You override what your body already knows. You tell yourself not to need what you need. And that's a quiet kind of harm. For me, the shift didn't come from anger or confrontation. It came from honesty, not with them, with myself. I had to ask a hard question. What is this dynamic costing me? Not in theory, but in energy, self-respect, emotional bandwidth, and peace. And I realized something important. I didn't need to stop caring about them, but I did need to stop making room for something that consistently asked me to shrink. That wasn't punishment. That was self-respect. This isn't about cutting people off impulsively. It's not about ultimatums or dramatic exits. Sometimes nothing changes externally. Sometimes the shift is internal. You stop over-explaining, you stop over-initiating, you stop filling in gaps that aren't yours to fill. You allow the dynamic to reveal itself without forcing it to be something it isn't. Clarity, it turns out, is kinder than hope built on imbalance. If this resonates, I'll leave you with a few questions, not to answer right now, just to sit with. Who in your life do you keep explaining away? Who are you consistently available but rarely prioritized? What are you tolerating, not because it feels good, but because it feels familiar? And maybe the most important one, what would it look like to tell yourself the truth, even if you don't act immediately? Sometimes the most self-respecting thing we can do is stop arguing with what we already know. Not everything needs a confrontation. Not everything needs closure. Some things just need clarity and the courage to stop betraying yourself in the process. Caring deeply is not a flaw, but it should never require you to disappear. Thank you for listening.